Coming up, monitoring's been ramped up at 3 Northwest aged care centres as a 79-year-old woman tests positive for coronavirus. Doors open at the Royal Hobart Hospital's redeveloped K block, but when will it be ready for patients? Authorities work to investigate a suspicious fire after a blaze leaves a unit gutted. The fallout of Virgin Australia's woes for Tasmanian travellers. Could a new airline fill the void as a bitter interstate battle takes off over the company? Could tech giants be forced to pay media outlets for news content? And a runaway pig ignites a police chase. We'll see you soon for all the day's leading news, sport and weather. First tonight, a Tasmanian police officer charged over a fatal crash in Launceston. Authorities closely monitor 3 aged care centres in the northwest, fearing further cases could emerge. The state government forced to defend exemptions from quarantine. Police investigate a fire at ROKEBY causing extensive damage. Virgin Australia headed for voluntary administration. And aviation experts weigh in on whether another carrier could fill the void here in Tasmania.
Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Millar begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Well, we begin with breaking news tonight. A police officer has been charged with manslaughter 3 months on from a crash in Launceston which killed a man and badly injured a woman. For more on this story, our reporter Tom Johnson joins us live. Good evening, Tom. What do we know about the person charged?
Good evening, Kim. Well, we know he's a 39-year-old male constable who's been charged with manslaughter, causing grievous bodily harm and driving offences after an horrific crash which killed a man earlier this year. Now, the crash happened on Patterson Street on January 6 when a police vehicle collided with a Mitsubishi Lancer, flipped and then struck 2 pedestrians crossing the road. Now, the Police Association has weighed in on this. They've expressed their condolences to the family of the man killed, but also say they're going to support the member through this upcoming legal process. Now, the officer in question, he's been stood down from duty and he will appear in court in July, Kim. OK,
thank you very much, Tom. To the corona situation now, and authorities are closely monitoring 3 aged care homes in the northwest for any new positive cases. So far, just 1 resident and a worker have been diagnosed with COVID-19, but already reinforcements are being called in.
Hot on the heels of last week's federal reinforcements, more are heading to Tasmania. The new mission to support 3 northwest aged care facilities caught up in a coronavirus scare. 71 Tasmanians have so far recovered from the virus. Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmania News.
The state government is defending exemptions to Tasmania's quarantine regulations. Unions say some interstate construction workers have been allowed to skip the 14-day quarantine period after returning back from Easter holidays at home. They're calling for rules to be enforced to protect local workers.
The developer obviously wants their project finished and completed, and so does everybody else. But the 14-day rule must apply firmly.
These are all referred to the State Controller. It is their decision, it is an independent process. There are clear guidelines that need to be met.
Property developer Callis Group couldn't be contacted for comment. Fire tore through a housing construction site at ROKEBY early this morning, causing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of damage. Police are treating the blaze as suspicious as they also investigate the theft of hot water heaters from the site.
Picking up the pieces of what was soon to be someone's home. Contractors arriving to work this morning were greeted to the heartbreaking sight. John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
With thousands of jobs and billions of dollars at stake, Virgin Australia is on the brink of voluntary administration tonight. The board is meeting for emergency talks as a carrier staggers an amazing $5 billion in debt. Now, a rescue plan by New South Wales has sparked a vicious interstate brawl.
Virgin is trying everything to survive, appealing to the public's wallets.
Since we came along, airfares have reduced in Australia by 37%.
The Virgin board to shortly decide the airline's fate. Chris Marr, 7 News.
And Virgin Australia's woes will lead to fewer flights to the mainland, even if the stricken airline survives, according to an industry veteran. But Par Avion's managing director is confident a new airline will fill the void, even if the carrier goes to ground for good.
Featuring all of Sir Richard Branson's trademark flamboyance, Virgin first popped down to the state in 2001.
The boss of the cruise company that owns the Ruby Princess has described the devastating corona outbreak as a terrible incident. We can reveal one of the first 2 passengers to test positive to COVID-19 was allowed to leave the ship before her swab was processed.
His company under police investigation, 21 deaths, nearly 1,000 infections worldwide. MYLEE, HOGAN, 7 News.
In a world first, tech giants could be forced to pay Australian media companies millions of dollars to use their news content. The federal government has announced a radical overhaul of online advertising to help local publishers, but big tech companies are pushing back.
Muscling up to the tech giants.
We won't bow to their threats.
New Zealand will ease its tough lockdown next week. The country will move out of level 4 restrictions to level 3 from next Monday. Under the relaxed rules, schools will reopen and more businesses, including construction and manufacturing, can get back to work.
We have done what very few countries have been able to do. We have stopped a wave of devastation.
New Zealand has 1,440 coronavirus cases and 12 deaths. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson could be back at work as soon as next week. He's facing a wave of criticism. He's mishandled the crisis as the country's hospitals treating COVID patients run out of protective equipment.
When the survival rate of being on a ventilator is 50-50, every patient saved is celebrated.
Stay with us. Still to come in our broadcast tonight. After numerous delays, a milestone for K-Block. A police investigation into damage at a hotel room used for quarantine. And the restaurant quality seafood you can snap up for a fraction of the cost. Welcome back. The Royal Hobart Hospital's K-Block is finally online. The multi-million-dollar facility is being opened in stages, with the first patients to be admitted from tomorrow.
More than a decade of planning, almost 3 years of construction and numerous delays, K-Block is open.
A gunman disguised as a policeman is behind the deadliest shooting rampage in Canadian history. It began in remote Nova Scotia, where bodies were found at a home. The gunman then evaded police, moving and shooting random targets. Over a horrifying 12 hours, 16 people were killed. Police hunted him down as locals already on COVID lockdown hid in their basements.
She goes, "Oh my God, lock the doors. He's here."
Harry and Meghan have escalated their war with the tabloids, writing to 4 newspaper editors to say they'll never work with them again. Under the couple's new zero engagement rule, the Daily Mail, The Sun, The Express and The Mirror will be banned from receiving updates and photos from the couple and could be blocked from attending their events. The Sussexes accuse the publications of using clickbait and salacious gossip to increase revenue. Now cue the Benny Hill music. Police in Connecticut spent a solid 45 minutes chasing down a runaway pig. While the COVID-19 shutdown is forcing the closure of some of our best eateries, people can now dine in on restaurant quality food at a fraction of the price. Meat and seafood, once exclusively sold to chefs, will soon be available to anyone and from the supermarket.
High-grade sashimi that was in high demand.
High-level talks on the resumption of the AFL season are taking place, but a restart to the season still appears to be some time off. Chief Football reporter Mark Stevens is tracking developments. And Mark, the AFL boss has been talking to the Chief Health Officer.
Well, Kim, no doubt we all want footy back, and AFL, well, they've been on the front foot. The boss, Gil McLaughlin, in direct contact with State Chief Medical Officer here in Victoria, Brett Sutton. The AFL set to announce its comeback plan in 7 days, so that's next Monday. So some talks on and certainly some movement and some positivity. We could get some footy late June, early July, that's the whisper, but there will be no crowd, so that includes the grand final, which really is a surprise and a real shame in these times, Kim.
Sure is. Mark Stevens there from AFL House, and I'll have more of the day's sport news later in the bulletin. Is another bitter pay dispute on the cards for Cricket Australia? The AFL shutdown reunites the King twins. And Netball Tasmania announces when it expects to be back on court. Those stories shortly, but first, after the break, we take a look at the day's headlines and then the search to find the owner of $1 million lotto ticket and why Kmart has pulled a popular children's item off its shelves. Welcome back. These are some of the stories making news headlines tonight. A Tasmanian police officer has been charged with manslaughter over a crash in Launceston earlier this year. 3 aged care homes to be closely monitored, ensuring any further coronavirus cases are detected. Police investigate a unit fire in ROKEBY causing hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage. And Virgin Australia could be headed for voluntary administration with no government bailout. The future of Temco's smelter in Bell Bay remains up in the air, almost 1 year on since a review into its operations was announced. Owner South32 says it's continuing to review its options, which include divestment, care and maintenance or closure, but has faced delays due to the coronavirus. The pandemic has certainly changed household budgets, with those considered well off cutting back, while lower income earners are spending more thanks to government stimulus. But there are signs the effect of the $750 payment might already be over, with economists now predicting a prolonged downturn.
First, there was hoarding, resulting in a spending splurge. That's now declining, but not where you might expect.
Now look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Bank of Us, Tasmania's customer-owned bank. The Australian stock market has closed 2.45% down after ABS survey data showed nearly a quarter of Australian adults are working fewer hours due to the coronavirus pandemic. The ASX 200 index fell 134.5 points. And a short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 63.5 US cents and 68.47 Japanese yen. I'll have all the day's sport news after the break and a move to midfield, reaping rewards for a kangaroo in the AFLW. And chaos erupts in the Taiwan Baseball League. Hello again. There's a silver lining to the AFL shutdown with the King twins reunited back home in Melbourne. Ben rejected a pitch to come home from Victorian clubs to remain a son, revealing the constant pressure and stress became too much.
Back under the one roof at the family home, it feels like old times for the King twins.
I've noticed he's come back with this thing on his top lip, so yeah, that's probably the big difference.
Current restrictions have forced the AFLW to go online and announce their end-of-season awards. Kangaroos midfielder Jasmine Garner was presented with the MVP trophy while isolating in a family home in Victoria. The North Melbourne star averaged 20 disposals and a goal a game for the Roos this season. Well, facing a severe cash crisis, Cricket Australia found that paceman Josh Hazlewood was the voice of reason today. He expects players to cop pay cuts on the chin in a united stance, unlike the bitter dispute that split the sport 2 years ago.
From their humble home gyms and isolation activities, there's been plenty of thinking time.
Join the local golf course, obviously. Keep me busy out there.
And that's all in sport. Merv, who's done an amazing job in the news chair over the past 10 or so weeks, will join us after the break from the weather studio.
Good evening. I guess I'd better remember how to do this. What I do know, though, is we had about 3 out of the 4 seasons today. Rain, showers, wind and a bit of sunshine. Hobart, Launceston, Burnie and Devonport all 18 degrees. The high was 19 at Friendly Beaches. Flinders Island and St Helens 18 today. King Island, Smithton, Low Head and Grove 17. Ouse and Strawn 16. Lyowini just 9. A long mid to low level cloud band moved over us today and sits over the Tasman Sea. Speckled cloud replaced it over the state. Now that frontal cloud band also clips the south of the mainland. Most of the country though is cloud free, but there is some thunder activity off the central West Australian coast. Tomorrow a series of cold fronts move over the water south of the mainland. High pressure cells split by troughs over the continent as well. Winds west to northwesterly 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots over the south, swells at 4 metres in western and southern waters. A strong wind warning has been issued for all coastal waters along with the southwest lakes. Forecast for tomorrow, Hobart, partly cloudy and 17, 16 the high for Adventure Bay, maybe a late shower, a shower for Tarraleah and 12 the top. Launceston, showers increasing, 6 overnight, 16 the top tomorrow, 17 for Devonport, a windy day as well, showers for Bridport, 16 the maximum, 15 the high for Burnie, showery and windy, same for Strawn, 16 the top, Marrawar 16 as well. St Helens tomorrow, a shower or 2 developing, fine for most of the day though, 17 for Swansea, possible shower for Flinders Island, Whitemark 17 degrees. Wednesday, showers easing and contracting to the west and far south. A pretty windy day again. Showers in the west on Thursday, extending statewide in the afternoon and evening. Mainly fine over the east on Friday. A few showers elsewhere, contracting to the west and far south during the morning. A possible shower for Perth tomorrow, partly cloudy and 24 in Adelaide. And fine, mostly sunny weather for the rest of the nation. Melbourne 20, Sydney 25, Brisbane 28. And after the inclement weather early, it's clear in Hobart, 11 degrees, Launceston 12 at the moment, 12 also in Devonport. And it's my duty to welcome to the news team, or actually welcome back to the news team, Kim Millar. Kim, we better tell everyone at home this is your first day of your probationary period at the station. I've got my scorecard here. How do you reckon you went?
Oh, perfect 10, don't you think? Definitely. We'll find out, I'm sure, on social media. Well, that's all your news for now. I'll be back with updates a little later. Thanks for joining us. Good night.